from the tangible, gross, to the subtle, from the body to the soul, to pure energy. So, these are the three states of existence of any entity.
We learn about life through questions.
Then is everybody intuitive?
Isn't that restricting the growth?
How do you find that balance?
Is it a verb like work to do?
How do we progress and work on that?
To answer some of these, Mr. Pratibimb Charitable, founder of Pratibimb Charitable Trust, brings to you Face to Face. This week we are talking about self and soul.
We are not physical bodies with souls, but souls with physical bodies. Yet there is a challenge for most of us for distinguishing between the self and the soul. What is a self? And what is the conjunction between a self and a soul?
Difficult question, because as human beings we understand self as our identity. If I ask you the question, who are you? How would you answer?
My name?
Please answer.
I'm Kavita.
So, you are Kavita.
That's my identity.
That's your identity, yeah. So, Kavita is this structure with a mind of your own, and that is, according to you, yourself. Now, if I ask you a counter question, what is self-realization? How would you answer that?
Self-realization would be basically if I introspect and look within myself. Would that be self-realization?
So, what is it?
I look deep within, so would that be the soul?
So now that's the question which you have asked initially, what is self? From where you stand, I, myself, we, ourselves, self, yeah. So if you stand as an Indian, we are ourselves all Indians. You stand as a particular community, say you are a Kashmiri. So we are Kashmiris, ourselves are Kashmiri. If you stand as a member of chartered accountants, then we are chartered accountants, ourselves are chartered accountants. So it depends on which platform you are standing, that defines yourself. But ultimately, what is the truth? You are born as a human being. So if you stand on the platform of human beings, we are all human beings. Then there is no nationality, there is no profession, there is no religion, there is no color, there is no caste, there is no creed. We are human beings. You go to the base level as a structure. Yeah, your structure is of a human being, so you are categorized as a human being. Yourself is a human being. Go further back to the base level. What are you? You are an expression of the energy, which we say prana energy. So your self is a projection of the prana energy, and that's the truth.
So, can we be selfless?
Again, who is talking?
The self.
Which self?
The person, the individual.
So if you have to be selfless, then you have to lose your identity.
Which cannot be done.
Which can be done.
Then what would I be as a human being?
You would be your true self and not the human being, which today most of us identify ourselves with. That I am the human being. You are Kavita. You identify yourself with Kavita. Anything that is not Kavita is not you. But when you go to your true self, you are the universal energy, the prana energy, then everything is the same. Because then you are looking at me as prana energy and not as the name for this body. And you are looking at every structure which is an expression of the prana energy as prana energy.
Is it possible that the soul never dies then?
Soul never dies. Soul dissolves, and there is a difference. What is the soul? First you must understand what is the soul before you can understand what is self. Soul is an entity. If we look at the Indian philosophy, you say Paramatma and Aatma. Paramatma is the whole, Aatma is the soul. Aatma is an individual. How do you differentiate Aatma from Paramatma? Aatma has its own coloration. What is that coloration? That coloration is a composite of unfulfilled desires and past karmas. Suppose you bundle together all your past karmas, that's your identity, your past karmas, and you bundle together all your desires, unfulfilled desires, and you put these two bundles in a box. So that is your identity. When this box gets energized by prana energy, that is the soul. So your unfulfilled desires and your past karmas energized by prana shakti is a soul, it still doesn't have a form. When this bundle acquires a form, so your bundle acquired today this form of Kavita. Now you have got an identity which can be perceived by the senses, the human senses. I can see Kavita, I can hear Kavita, all those things are possible through the human senses. My sense organs can understand you, my sense organs cannot understand the soul. I cannot see the soul, I cannot feel the soul, I cannot touch or taste the soul or smell the soul. So a soul is an abstract form of the identity. You are a tangible form. So let's say Kavita, a tangible form, Kavita's soul, the abstract form, and prana energy, the pure energy which has no coloration of Kavita at all. That prana energy is in every human being, every living being. It has no coloration. When it gets the coloration of desires and past karma, it becomes an individual soul. So Kavita has a soul which has Kavita's unfulfilled desires and past karmas. I have a soul which has my unfulfilled desires and past karmas. That bundle is packaged inside this body. And therefore, my body has a different shape, different form, different look. Your body has a different shape, different form, different look. So from the tangible, gross, to the subtle, from the body to the soul to pure energy. So these are the three states of existence of any entity. Kavita exists as a body, Kavita exists as a soul, and Kavita exists as a pure energy. When you identify yourself on the platform of the body, who is the self? Kavita is the self. When you identify yourself on the platform of the soul, who is the self? The soul is the self. And when you identify yourself on the platform of the energy, who is the self? The Paramatma is the self. So, Kavita, Aatma, Paramatma.
Between the soul and the body, is there any space for ego then?
What is ego? Ego is I. So, if it is Kavita talking, the gross body talking, then it is I, Kavita. If it is a soul talking, then it is I, the undefined, borderless entity. And if it is the Paramatma talking, I, then Paramatma is also ego. That's the supreme ego, that's the only ego which has value. All other egos are dilutions of the supreme ego. When we talk of ego as human beings, when we talk the English language ego, ego is perceived to be something negative. But ego simply means I. If you look at Sikhism, 𝗕𝗂𝗯𝗃, that's the only ego that exists. That's the only I that exists. All the other I's are expressions of that solitary I. But when I start saying, me, I am the founder, I am the pharmacist, I am the chartered accountant, I am the doctor, then I have divorced myself from the supreme I. Then I am projecting a smaller portion of that supreme I, because that supreme I is also the chartered accountant, the supreme I is also the doctor, he is also everything. It's like the chairman presiding over the entire company. The chairman may not be doing any work in any particular department, but he presides over. Under his chairmanship, the company functions. So, under the chairmanship of that divine entity, the whole universe functions. Where do you stand? That is the self in your consciousness.
What is a soulmate?
What is a soulmate? I said past karmas, one of the bundle of the soul is past karmas. Wherever you have associated with another entity, where you have shared your karmas, that is your soulmate.
So sometimes we connect with someone when we say, oh, this one is my soulmate. So what is that then?
Affinity, born out of an association in the past. Again, I go back to the accountancy, debit and credit. We have had relationship of debit and credit. Suppose you are my regular customer. So in my book of accounts, there is a ledger account where Kavita's name is prominent because you are constantly buying goods from my company. So there are a horde of transactions in the ledger account in my books where Kavita's name features several times. There might be another customer who has brought the same goods only once or twice. So his account is empty. There are only 2 entries. In your case, there are 2000 entries. So our association is of 2000 contractual entries of give and take. So when you visit my establishment, you are my most sought after customers. So you get a special reception. Soulmates are the important people with whom we have had transactions in the past.
So these soulmates always have an influence on the self.
Yes. The self as in the gross.
And that cannot be changed. That cannot be...
You can't change. You can't change your parents. They happen to you, no?
So what is to be is to be.
Yes. The script was written in your past karmas. You chose your parents by your past karmas. You chose your siblings by your past karmas. You chose your associates, whoever you associated with in this life, through your past karmas.
So would it be right to say that we can have many soulmates?
Sure. Don't you see married people falling in love with different people even after marriage? You're an advocate, you must have seen a lot of these cases.
Yeah, but we just take it as a matter. So we don't go deep into it because we can't do that and influence.
And we feel guilty about it. Oh, how can I fall in love with somebody else? Why not? You have been associated in the past. It's a truth of life. You may not express it, but deep inside you have affinity for some other person.
So there is nothing that is, we could say, is right or wrong.
In the universe, there is no right wrong. In the universe, there is a cause and effect. Universe restricts itself to cause and effect. How you interpret that effect is your choice. Good, right, bad, wrong.
Between the self and the soul, it requires an impassioned effort to defend the values of the soul. We need to spare a little thought for the great ideals that once gave life meaning and value.
If you have some questions about life, please connect with us. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon for weekly updates.